Okay, welcome everybody. My name is Andrew Mishalove. I know a lot of you. Probably there's some new faces here as well that I've not yet had a chance to meet. So I wanted to take a minute here just to welcome everybody. This is our first edition of the California User Group. The User Group program started when I started at Boomi back in 2018, and due to COVID, we had to make a quick pivot to continue to have these events, but in a virtual environment. So here we are. Looking forward to an awesome event today. We have about 230 people or so signed up, so we'll see how many are able to join us. We have an awesome agenda planned for you today. So we're excited to have you, everybody here, and excited to be able to share this time together with you all. Just before we kind of get into things, I have a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to go through. 1 second to flip my slides. First is the session is being recorded. Purpose of the recording is so that in the future, when we want to be able to refer back to the contents of today's session, or for those who did register but were not able to attend for whatever reason, we can place the recording into the Boomiverse community. So you'll have a chance to go back and check out some of the sessions if you didn't have time to stay for the whole event, or like I said, for those who are not able to join us, they will still have an opportunity to check out all the action that happened on today's call. Second of all, please engage. Notice it's big print, it's bold. These events are for you all. This is about your success with Boomi. These are opportunities for you to connect with the Boomi team. We have some exciting folks on the call today that you're going to hopefully learn a lot from. We have 2 customers that will be presenting later on this afternoon. We also have an exciting panel discussion with some of our Boomi leadership team. So take the time to engage with them, ask questions. Everybody has an opportunity to unmute themselves. We'd ask that you keep your mics muted while others are speaking, but if you have a question, feel free to jump in, or you can use the raise your hand feature within Zoom. We'll be sure to address your questions as quickly as we can. But like I said, I really would encourage everyone to participate. If for those of you who've been to the live events, they are very engaging. We ask people that they do participate and ask questions when they feel appropriate. If you're not super comfortable with that, and you're not comfortable with the recording as well, I did mention this, you're welcome to use the Zoom chat feature. My team will be on the lookout for chats that come through or questions that come through. We certainly would be happy to ask those questions for you. So keep your cameras turned on. Again, just like the live events, you can't flip your camera off at the live events. We would encourage you to keep your cameras turned on for this event as well, so that when we do return to the in-person sessions, we can put a name with a face, with a voice, feel a little bit more connected. I'm sure in this age of COVID, we're all pretty anxious to get out back into the field and not be cooped up in our houses all the time. And I make it up, my purpose to have these calls. I always have my camera on. There are extenuating circumstances that I can't, but by and large, about 98% of the time I am on camera, so I can feel connected to my peers. So please take your time, take a second to flip your camera on if you're comfortable doing so. As I mentioned, mics are muted, but again, unmute yourself. You have that ability. If you have questions, just feel free to jump in, ask your questions, find a pause in the action, and it's certainly encouraged. There will be 2 polls and 2 other activities that we'll be launching sometime during the session today. The polls are an opportunity for us, for our team, to get feedback from you all to continue to improve this experience. We take them seriously. We've incorporated feedback from the polls in every event that we've had. I think this is our 18th or 19th virtual event since we started the virtual program in May. This is kind of phase 2. We haven't had them for about 4 to 6 weeks. So this is kind of starting the next round of virtual events. We have a lot coming up over the next few weeks. So please take the polls. Gives us a great opportunity to make these better so that we can provide a better opportunity for you all. There are a couple of California-based user groups that are in the community. Caitlin, if you could, please share those in the chat. So if you could open up the chat, you'll see a link for both the Bay Area group and there's a Southern California group. We'd love to have you all join those groups so we can stay connected. with your local teams. So I see Caitlin's posting them in there right now. So take a look at those. If you're not already signed up, please take a second to sign up for those groups, and we will get you in there as soon as we can. Last but not least, have fun. This is your time. This is time for you all to learn from each other again, to learn from us, to hear from leadership. You're going to hear from both Ed and Rajesh, who lead up our product and engineering organizations. You're going to hear from Mandy in just a few minutes here, our Chief Marketing Officer. So take the time to learn from them, to learn from each other, and have some fun while we're at it. Get about 2 hours here together. So looking forward to today's session. And if I could move my slides, there we go. So again, my name is Andrew. For those of you who are just joining, I'm the head of community and user groups. I work under Matt Krebsbach, who's here with us today on the Boomiverse team. Mandy will be jumping on in just a minute here to welcome you all to today's session and talk a little bit more about the importance of connecting through the user groups and through community. So Mandy, thanks for joining us and taking the opportunity to welcome everybody today. Then we'll get into, after Mandy, we'll get into a networking exercise that I do at all the live events. I call it the brain toss. There will also be an opening poll, so I'd certainly encourage you to participate in both of those activities when that kicks off. Then we'll get into the panel discussion with Ed, Rajesh, and Mandy. And then we'll hear from Charles and Brent, two of our excellent customers who have some great stories to share with you all. I had a chance to get a sneak peek at Charles's presentation yesterday. I think it was yesterday, Charles, or 2 days ago? Would have been yesterday, right?
That was yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday, right. I'm losing track of my days here. It's only Tuesday. So he has some great stuff to share with you all. So look forward to hearing from him and Brent as well. Hopefully some of those technical challenges you were all having to get connected are now resolved. So look forward to hearing from you. And then finally, we'll wrap things up and have that closing poll and get some live feedback. So pretty packed agenda, so we're going to keep on moving here. And let me take a second here to welcome Mandy. Mandy, thanks for joining us. So excited and blessed to have you here with us today. Excited to hear what you have to say, and take it away.
Sure. Thanks, Andrew, and welcome everyone. So great to see all of your faces on the screen. You know, this is an interesting time for us. I never in my career had I ever imagined as a marketer who's a crazy type A extroverted person would be relegated to my home and sitting here doing my job. And so, arguably the fun is gone from the job. I used to travel all over the place and meet with customers and partners and my teams, so we're navigating this new normal. And, I think many of you have already seen some of these memes that are going around on LinkedIn. We're no longer working from home, we're living at work, right? And by way of background, I'm a mother. So I have this preteen who I'm now a short order cook and also a tutor for, in addition to running marketing for this amazing organization. I've been a tech marketer my entire career, just fell in love with the discipline of technology, and have had the pleasure of doing almost every job within the marketing discipline. And I often say I am who I wanted to be when I grew up. So really loving this job. I'm getting an echo. Somebody may want to mute. Thank you. And so I wanted to start with what brought me to Boomi. I'm about to celebrate my 2-year anniversary at this company next month. And it's been a tremendous ride. When I got here, we were very much on a fast track trajectory. We still are. And, there was a lot here that I saw. There was a company with an amazing technology and a fantastic group of customers and users. It needed polish. And so for the last 2 years, what we've been doing is building the Boomi brand and building up the Boomiverse. For those of you that were with us at Boomi World last year in Washington, DC, launching that and really getting ourselves ready for much more growth in a very scale out way from a tech standpoint. So super excited to be here during as a part of this milestone. In this work from home era, living at work era, we're really more connected than we've ever been. I feel like the quality of conversations that we've been having as teams, as well as with customers and partners, have been very high, and we're getting access to people as well that we never used to. So taking advantage of this, as a marketing organization, what we did very early on when COVID hit was we adapted our messaging to really focus on pain points to help our customers and prospects solve challenges that related to moving to the cloud quickly, harnessing the power of their workforces and ensuring that people had the tools that they needed and also access to the systems that they required in order to do their jobs. There's been some great stories that have emerged over the last several months. Healthcare and life sciences being one. We've got two of our customers. I'm not sure if they're on here today, but Moderna and Gilead, they're on the quest to get a vaccine and really start to tackle the COVID challenge that we have as a global society. So helping them quickly onboard and offboard consultants as well as staff to quickly start to be able to find a cure. That was a definite highlight. Working with retail customers that had to pivot overnight to become e-commerce companies. That was another thing, a feather in our cap, that we were able to help many brands globally be able to go do that. Also from a supply chain perspective, providing data agility so supply chain data can be transacted more quickly, and folks had line of sight into where logistically where their inventories lay. So really starting to work with the heartbeat of business to drive those outcomes that we speak of, and really be at the front and center of helping solve these business challenges and partnering with our customers to go do that. We also are working with a lot of higher education institutions to define this new normal of Zoom school. How do you create engagement between students and their communities and campuses where they can go back to ensure that they're digitally connected, and also within governments globally as well. How do you provide access to these essential services in an era where you can't physically be present? And lastly, Boomi for Good. We were able to really take a step back and spend virtually overnight within our organization, run a hackathon for people to come up with ideas on how we could use our technology to help solve challenges in terms of building FAQ chatbots to automate some of the load that customers or nonprofits would have to help alleviate and help solve some challenges in these crazy, unprecedented times. So it's been quite a gratifying journey. And as a result of that, as far as state of the business, we have record growth on the platform. Proud to say that. Kudos to Ed and Rajesh for managing this growth and not skipping a beat. It's been phenomenal. We're north of 11,000 customers and growing. As far as certifications and training and on-demand services that we provide, we're up at 50 certifications a day within the Boomiverse. So really growing quickly and really leveraging that power of sharing the knowledge. And with that, I just wanted to say thank you, and thank you for being one of the best communities I've ever had an opportunity to be a part of. The Boomiverse is growing, and there's a lot more to come. But I did want to share with you kind of what we've got coming here in the near term, if you will. Starting next week, we've got Boomi World, as many of you know, for those of you who have attended, is a very special gathering. And it brings together our users, our customers, partners within a 3-day compressed agenda to really be immersed in all things Boomi. And we'll never be able to replicate a Boomi world in this virtual world. So we decided that we're going to go do something different and call this event Out of This World. So we're launching a virtual mini series starting next week. There's another slide, I believe, after this one, Andrew, if we can switch to it. Starting next week on the 25th of August, we're going to focus on reimagining work in this new normal that we find ourselves in. And we're going to showcase customer stories. We're going to showcase how you can quickly build solutions and really make it all about collaboration. So there's a sign up link there. Please go ahead and sign up. That's the first in our series of this Out of This World. And then we'll come back at you late September, and on a weekly cadence, we'll do a mini series like episode with celebrities, with some content, and give you a lot more information on what the new Boomi is. Yet again, we're reinventing ourselves. So lots more to come there at the end of September, but really encourage you to sign up. And there's technical content, there's workshops, there's all sorts of material that the teams are busy developing, and we're really excited to be able to bring it to you. But we're going to start with helping solve some of the problems that we're all facing today in this new era. So I encourage you to sign up, and we'll see you back on Zoom during those events. And with that, I'm going to pass over to Andrew, and we can get to the next portion of our agenda.
Awesome. Thank you, Mandy, for that. And it is interesting. I was definitely concerned about the transition from in-person to virtual in this new era that we're in. And the fact that we're still able to connect through community, through the Boomiverse, and through these events, I still feel very connected to folks. Just every time we have one of these sessions and people flip their cameras on and you see faces that you've seen 1,000 times, whether at Boomi World or a user group or at a customer site, or at some other event, some other Boomi event. It's just exciting that we're able to still connect, despite being thousands of miles apart in a lot of cases. So I'm excited by that. And again, thank you to everybody for joining today and continuing to stay connected to us. If you are interested, I will post the slides for today's event in the community once the event wraps up. I promise to have it up within 3 days. Caitlin, you're going to hold me to that. But the link, Matt just posted the link to this event for the sign up. Matt just posted that into the chat. So take a look at that. Go there, go ahead and get signed up, and look forward to an exciting couple of days, or a couple of weeks, excuse me, of activities in the next 8 to 10 weeks. So with that, let me do this. I want to kick off that first poll to start to get people acclimated to the participation, to the engagement. So I'm going to launch our first poll in just 1 second. So everybody get your poll fingers ready to answer these questions. We'll share the results after, and then we'll get into the next activity and continue on with the agenda. So that should be popping up on your screens. Do I get some nods, some yeses? Do people see the poll? Yes? Cool, awesome. Let's take a minute to get this filled out, and then we will share the results, talk through them for just a couple of minutes, and then we're gonna get into the brain toss. So get your brains ready. Get ready to answer some questions. We need some volunteers for this next activity. If we don't get volunteers, we're going to pick on some people. I see plenty of people in this chat here that we can pick on. So I'd ask Rowan and the team and everybody else to start teeing some people up if we don't get volunteers. All right. Cool. So we got getting lots of answers coming in here. So thank you. We're up to 114 folks on the call here, so this is exciting. I see Matt smiling. I know what he's smiling for. That's right. LA's got that one team. I see Andy's a big fan. Is that a LeBron fan? Do you see? Are you a LeBron fan, Andy, or just a Lakers fan in general?
Just a diehard Lakers fan.
There we go. Love it. I heard they weren't feeling so great about coming into this this weird playoff setup that we're in.
I'll see you at the parade.
There you go. Love it. All right, so we got about 81 responses. Let's stop there and share the results. This is always kind of a fun little exercise. So that's great. I love that first stat. So it's tough. The live events are easy, and if you're in the Bay Area or you're in somewhere in Orange County or San Diego, it's I don't want to say it's easy to get to an event, but certainly if you're in the city, it's it's within walking distance or a quick Uber ride away. So we appreciate that. But for these virtual events, we get to connect with folks that are in more remote areas that aren't typically able to join us in person. So love to see that. That's a high number. So that's really great. So welcome all the first timers. Fair number of customers, majority customers. Like to see that number a little bit higher on average, because these events are mainly for you all. But certainly great to welcome our prospects and partners and team members as well. So welcome folks to this call. All right, let's see the split here. Mostly we have Bay Area folks. Kudos to Rowan and his team for driving that. But we certainly welcome folks from all other areas as well. All right. 6% have not heard of the Boomiverse. That's certainly shame on us. So Mandy, we're gonna have to take care of that. Matt, we need to do something about that, right? So we'll reach out to those who answered. They have never heard of the Boomiverse, and we can set some time up to talk you through what that means. And I would also lean on Lauren and the other success team members to help us out with that. Make sure that you have all the tools that you need to be a successful Boomi customer. Cool. So for those of you, we get some pretty decent ratings there. For those of you who would recommend the Boomiverse to others, to their colleagues, we have a few that are a little bit lower on the scale here. So we may reach out to you as well and find out what it is that you'd like to see get better. Feedback is a gift. So thank you for being honest with that. And then yes, I think we all want to return to the live sessions once the travel bans have been lifted. Okay. Cool. So let's stop there. Let's move on to the next slide. And this is the brain toss portion of it. So I think, was it 70% first timers? So the way this works at the live events anyway is, we may have 30, 40 people, 50 people in the room. And usually we do get a chance to get around to most folks in the room. So basically I have a little foam brain I toss around. Whoever catches it has to go through in about, within a minute and a half to 2 minutes, just walk through these questions, provide answers, and then they toss the brain to the next person. So I'm looking for volunteers. I don't want to have to pick on some folks, but I will. And Rowan, help me out, and Paolo, help me out here. But who wants to go first? Just feel free to unmute yourself, jump in, and share your journey with us. And then hopefully you get a chance to hear from some of your peers, get to know people a little bit better, find those folks that you connect with, and maybe you guys can connect offline on the community, find some common use cases and ways in which you're using Boomi to help transform the way that you guys are functioning as a business. But who's interested in going first? Who do we have? Don't be shy.
All right, I'll go first. I'm Jennifer Gardner. I am from AMN Healthcare. I am the Senior Director for Enterprise Data Governance here. We purchased Boomi to implement master data management. It's helping us, consolidate, synchronize our data across the entire enterprise. And we've been using it for a little over a year. And my favorite car, oh dear. Well, I drive a Volkswagen GTI. I really like that. It's zippy. Dream car? Oh, geez. Well, I'll have to think about that. All right. So thanks for having me.
Appreciate that. Thanks for being first.
This is Daryl. I'll go.
Oh, go ahead.
Daryl Flanagan. The company is Agendia. We're a healthcare company. I am the Boomi person. My official role title is Information Systems Architect. Just means I've worked there a long time and know more than most people. Purchased Boomi to integrate a manual process and speed up getting information into Salesforce that was being moved around with spreadsheets and all sorts of things. Gone on since then and integrated to external customers, more integrations to Salesforce for a lot of reasons between our laboratory information system. Boomi user community has been essential. There's always seems to be somebody there that knows the answer to your question, and they're quite willing to give it up. I've tried to pay back when I can.
You do.
Well,
you definitely do.
I've been on hiatus for a while because I've been heads down on a new project that involves Boomi. It's taken me next. I don't know if anybody's familiar with a product called Bartender. It's actually label printing software, but it can do. You can think of a label as being any kind of a document. It can create quite complicated documents with dynamic content, moving parts, and all kinds of stuff. I don't mean moving after they're printed, but for instance, think of a graphical presentation where things have to move around and things change color and all that, depending on the data submitted. So that's in the progress now to work with a change in our laboratory information system, moving to a system called LabVantage, which is, I consider the Cadillac of the laboratory information systems. Favorite car, Corvette. Yes, I've had one, but it was quite some time ago, and I'd love to have a C8, which is the latest generation.
Nice, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being number 2, and thank you for your continued support of the Boomiverse. Love to see you come out of your hiatus.
I occasionally
get back
I
on
do.
the wagon.
Yeah, I do occasionally when I can find some low-hanging fruit.
Awesome. That's great. No, it's what it's all about working out loud and
Yeah.
not just going in there as a silent participant and consuming content, but also giving back to the community. So thank you for all your participation and support over these years.
It's been a lot of fun, and I enjoy the environment.
Great.
Hey, I'll go next if there's still time for one more.
Yep.
All right. Hey, so my name is Jens Sorensen. I work for QAD. We're actually, it's funny, I couldn't answer Central California because we're in between Central and Southern in Santa Barbara. And I'm a business systems architect. And we purchased Boomi probably 7 or 8 years ago. So I brought it into the company. We were looking at some heavy ESB solutions, Cape Clear before Workday acquired them, and some Progress solutions. And Boomi really just stood out as one of the easiest tools for the analysts to use at the time. You didn't have to, install all this, crazy infrastructure and get a lot of coders in there. So just the simplicity of it sold it to us, pretty quick up front. And since then, so for probably over the 7 or 8 years, we've probably got around 20 or 25 systems integrated with Boomi right now. Everything from Workday, Salesforce, Sugar, CRM, and a bunch of other apps. I love the user community. I think it's made a huge turn in the last year because I'm very active in other communities, and I think it's great to be able to post your questions and kind of share and get support from peers who are kind of doing the same stuff. Where's Boomi journey taking us next? Well, my last year has been working on moving our data warehouse into Google BigQuery and GCP. And I put Boomi kind of as a cornerstone to that. So we're using Boomi as kind of our major tool to move data into BigQuery and into GCP. I'd like to see Boomi, really build that out quite a bit more, but it's worked out really well because we've sat down with consultants and tried to build it using a lot of other tools that would take weeks. And, I've already got it working within while they're having conversations about what tool to use. So a lot of use around GCP and our Google investments. Favorite car? The Rivian. I've been kind of like looking at the new Rivian truck. It's actually one of our customers. We're big on the automotive industry. I think it's a little bit out of my price range, but maybe a few years. So that's it.
Awesome. It's good to aspire.
I'll go next. Hey, my name is Andy Wu. I'm with IBM, a Director of Managed Services and Cloud Engineering. I'm actually a Boomi evaluator, so I'm really here to better understand Boomi solutions, the customers, and quite honestly, the challenges. Favorite car, to be honest, someone mentioned it. I still have my 1994 Volkswagen Golf GTI that I will never let go.
Nice.
But
Nice.
my favorite car is a 2006 Lexus LS430, pristine car. That's the most over-engineered car that you can ever get. If you can get one that's low mileage, it'll last you forever.
So you get good ROI on that car, right?
That's right.
Awesome. Andy, thanks for joining us. Thanks for sharing. I think we probably have time for one, maybe two more. Anybody want to jump in? You'll hear from our speakers later.
I'll jump in.
With somebody else. Go for it.
My name's Tom Velardi. I work for Tilly's in Orange County, California. I'm a project manager. We really just started our journey. So we were introduced to Boomi last September or August, so about a year ago, on a project for implementing NetSuite. And it was a consultant that was working on the design and architecture of that implementation. And then we leveraged that and added, used Boomi for our order processing for our e-com business. And that launched in January, I guess. And we're just looking to expand it to other areas of our business. So mainly I'm here to, learn more, and, find out what other people are doing. Boomi community, we're not involved, and I think, you know, I'm gonna try to change that. And favorite car that I ever owned was a 1978 Pontiac Firebird. I loved driving it. It was so much fun to drive. I don't really have a dream car right now. There's so many that are awesome cars out there. I haven't really picked one. So that's about it.
Awesome, great, thank you for sharing. We do have time for one more. I'm gonna go with Stephanie, who's having some let's call them family challenges, and is not able to turn the video and the mic on unless you want to turn your mic on. I don't know if that's an option for you, but I can just read off of your post in the chat to the group here. So you're with ACP Composites, business systems analyst, purchased Boomi to help connect NetSuite to Monday.com. Is that right? And plan on finding other ways to use Boomi. So that's great. So you're here, and hopefully you'll hear about some other ways from the rest of the group. Favorite car is the Skyline GT500 Koenigsegg, and then we had a little dialogue on that because I love that car myself. So yeah, no video, small children, dog, husband, all running amok. So yes, we get the challenges that you're all facing, and it sounds like you guys are a composite company, so all carbon fiber body is a plus. So thank you for sharing that, Stephanie, with us. Love that car as well. And but seriously appreciate everyone willing to share with us today. I wish we had more time for this because this is not always easy to get it going, but this is certainly an active group here and willing to share and wanting to share. It's always that first person. Once they jump in, then it's kind of dominoes from there. So really appreciate everyone taking a second to do that, or taking a minute or 2 minutes. We will resume this on our next one, but for now, let's continue with the agenda so we can get to the main events of the day. So before we do that, I'm going to stop sharing my this screen. I'm going to flip over to kick off. I asked for the second. If everybody could go to menti.com, MENTI.com. We're going to start this exercise. This is kind of a two-part exercise. The first one is sort of a warm-up, and then the second one is the real deal. So I would ask everybody to go to menti.com, punch in this unique code, and then answer the question, and we're going to watch this build out in real time. So it'll build out a word cloud in real time. So we'll take a second for folks to do that. There we go. So you see how this works. It's such a cool, powerful tool. I saw that. I think this was introduced. Chris Timmerman introduced this to us. Chris, I love this tool. I've been using this thing nonstop since the first day you showed us this tool. It's awesome.
Only I could take credit. It was actually someone else that showed it to me. So
well, to me, you're the credit. I give you the credit. This is awesome. See how that works. It's so much fun to watch this go. Give us another 15, 20 seconds, and then we'll get to the real thing. And this will provide some input and some food for thought for the next portion of our agenda. So Mandy, Ed, and Rajesh, you think you guys can work with this?
Yeah, it seems like the group is somewhat excited. I see somewhat as a pretty big word.
Cool, awesome. All right, I think we get the point.
Can we talk about ham? That's really.
Yeah, there you go. I noticed that one as well. Who put ham?
Someone's hungry.
Anybody want to talk about that? Any more hams? Cool. No, this is great. Out of this world. Is that you, Mandy?
No, but love the marketing virality. I'm not going to lie.
Cool. Very good. All right. I'm going to stop this one. I'm going to exit out, and let me go back. And we're going to kick off the real deal here. This is a two-parter. I'm going to go to number 2. going to present. Now you have to go to menti.com, put the new code in. And then this is a two-part question. The first time I've done a two-part question. So I'm going to let you guys take a second to fill this question out, and then we'll move on to the next one. And then we can use this as a basis. You guys can see the new one? To the yes? I guess so. I see people coming in there. Not seeing too many votes. Everybody's able, there we go. Now they're starting to come in. There we go. Community. There you go. See that community word, integration, the main event. So we will share these on the community post once that goes live. So you'll all have a chance to see these results. Do we see Ham again? Is it on here? I don't see Ham, but somebody posted in the chat. Cool. All right, awesome. Let me advance this to the next question. So this is what we call voice of the customer. So if you had your one wish and it's loud enough, would certainly encourage you to go to the ideation tool that lives on the Boomi community. Post your ideas in there. If you have specific ideas, you want to provide a little bit more color, go to the ideation section on community. But I think for the purposes of this activity and event, this might be some good food for thought for today's panel discussion. Keep on keeping on. I love that. So far, so good on the panel. Are they power outages? It seems like still have a good number of folks on here, so that's good to see. Cool, let's give this another 10, 15, 20 seconds or so. No big standouts in the word cloud, but Ed or Rajesh, I'll share this with you all.
For whoever posted the CI/CD, I just recently discovered there is a Boomi User Group for automation. So feel free to check that out.
Cool, awesome. Thanks for pointing that out. So just I don't know if do you want me to, Mandy, do you want me to pause here? Do we want to talk about this at all? And kind of lead from here into your all's conversation.
Yeah,
your thoughts?
there's a lot of richness here, Andrew. This is awesome. And this is my first user group, so I'm loving just watching all of these comments come through. Better. Maybe this is the opportunity for us to introduce Ed and Rajesh and kind of jump in.
Let's do that. Sure. Yeah, we can do that.
Hey, Andrew,
can we leave this on the screen, Andrew? Because there are likely some things I'd like to touch on that we're working on, you know, that I'm seeing on the screen.
Definitely, yeah. That was the plan. I would just leave this up. People can continue to contribute to this. The more we build this out, the better. And then we can just we'll have an open dialogue about this. Yeah, there's definitely some cool stuff as some of you have all mentioned. There's new features coming to the Boomiverse community all the time. One of which we can talk about while through the course of today's event, specifically the plug and play models. So we can get into that in a few minutes. But no, this is a great way to kind of begin that dialogue. So as I mentioned on the agenda, we have our two top leadership from both product and engineering, as well as Mandy, our Chief Marketing Officer, on the call. This is your chance to have one-on-one dialogue with the folks, the brains behind the operation, the folks that are building the awesome products that you are all getting so much out of, so much value from. That's really helping to accelerate your outcomes, your business outcomes. So I'd like to take a second here, and I'll let you all introduce yourselves and talk about the richness of your backgrounds. But Ed and Rajesh, do you guys want to take a minute? Mandy had a nice bit of time to introduce herself. Do you guys want to take a minute or two or a couple minutes to introduce yourselves, and then we can get into some dialogue? And as I mentioned, we'll leave this up. This is great food for thought, and we can continue to have some dialogue around this. So keep on bringing those ideas, and let's start it off. Ed, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Hey all, this is Ed. I'm a Boomi OG, but also a boomerang, I guess I'll call it, or we call it internally. So from an OG perspective, I was employee either 8 or 9 back in 2003. So when I walked in the door, there was 9 of us, but myself and Dan Morris, who is also still on the Boomi engineering team, started on the same day with, I guess 7 other people. I started at the company as a services, support, training, go get sandwiches for the founders, whatever necessary as joining the company. But we had an old on-premises product where we did EDI, partnered mostly with third-party logistics companies. Then went on the journey with the company from there to launching what we call Boomi On Demand in 2007. We had to pivot. We followed Salesforce as we saw it in the cloud and kind of hitched ourselves to that wagon. Launched Boomi On Demand, later became Boomi Atmosphere. Was part of the acquisition in 2010 by Dell. At that point was leading ProServe, support, et cetera, teams. Then in 2013, took over engineering. So I was the engineering leader for Boomi for about a year. And at the time, through that whole journey, I grew up in Pennsylvania, was part of Boomi at headquarters as that small company then. But in 2014, opportunity came knocking and I moved out to the West Coast. I joined Oracle in some executive roles in the Fusion middleware area. So had a role in PaaS and Fusion middleware. So saw the launch of a number of PaaS products at Oracle, and as well as on-prem stuff. Spent 5 years at Oracle and then decided to come back about a year and a half ago now and took over, and I'm head of product. So from a car perspective, I'm kind of ashamed of you all because coming back, I was able to secure the Boomi license plate. So for those of you who are in California, if you see awesome. That Boomi license plate driving around, that's me. And,
that's awesome.
And make sure you wave. And it's a black, my favorite car. I got a Tesla. So I love the engineering and love how those work. So that's me. Rajesh?
Awesome. Ed, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go next. So hi, everyone. My name is Rajesh Raheja. I head Boomi's R&D engineering and SaaS operations. I am a Boomi newbie, and I just joined Boomi a little over a year ago. And so this is my first user group, and I'm really excited to meet everybody and to be able to get a chance to hear from you what you like about our platform and what we can do to even make that even better. I'm based in the Bay Area. I am an engineer and a technologist at heart. Prior to Boomi, I led engineering and technology strategy for CA Technologies Layer 7 API management. And before that, spent a considerable amount of time at Oracle as well, working on most of their integration technologies, including architecting and building their iPaaS from its inception. And a fun trivia fact is that's where I actually met Ed, and then he and I connected and kept in touch. So when this opportunity opened up, it was just something I could not refuse. So glad to be here. Thank you everyone for joining us as well.
So we should probably jump in, right, Andrew? You want me to ask a couple of questions of the guys?
Yeah, well, let's do it like this. So Mandy, just take it away, and I would prefer to hear from the audience. As I mentioned before, this is your opportunity to pick the brains of Ed and Rajesh. You know, about the product, about the roadmap, about anything you want to hear, what's coming. You know, any of the ideas that that are on the wish list here. We could dive into some of those details. So for some of you who put some of these ideas out there, now's your chance. Let's connect with them. Let's make this make this organic. We don't have a set specific or set agenda here. It's your time. So take the most advantage of it as you can. But we'll have Mandy kind of lead things off, and then we'll see where it goes.
I'm just inherently curious about the wish list items. You know, Ed, Rajesh, question for each of you. What jumps out at you most? What are you most excited about on this wish list?
So the one, there's a couple of, well, there's two themes I'm seeing in there. One, I saw, there's more examples, and I think I saw more accelerators is also related in there. So the one thing I want to make, we're building a framework. Okay, to start off, we're building a framework right now, which is called the Accelerator Framework, literally. And what we're doing is up-leveling what you know of today as a process library into the ability to build accelerators and things and solutions that go across all of the services in our platform, like API management and integration and hub, et cetera. So, that will be released likely the end of this year, early Q1 calendar year wise. So that'll give you, our community, the ability to build and contribute those, and for partners to publish them as well. But in preparation for that, we have launched in the soft launch. We didn't make a lot of noise about it, but I want to make sure you all are aware. We did launch discover.boomi.com. So if you go there you check back, that is setting the stage for what we'll do from a solution and accelerator standpoint. So when you go there, the solutions team that we have is launching a number of different just cross-service as well as integration-focused examples as well. So take a look. Those are more examples that we put out. And we're going to continue to invest there. And then as we make this solution framework available, we'll be partnering with more and more of those folks in our broader community. A lot of partners, SIs, global systems integrators and whatnot are interested in publishing things as well. So we're moving towards a marketplace. So that's one thing I wanted to note about the examples. And maybe to throw out a little bit of a question for the audience, or even to give us some real feedback on this. I saw a number of things in here about UX, like refreshing the user experience, UX enhancements, uplifting that. It is a big focus of ours, and we continue to, as you've all seen, we've kind of integrated the user experience by introducing a welcome screen, which is going to continue to evolve, and we're going to move more settings and things there. But what I would like to understand, if people wouldn't mind speaking up, giving some examples and some conversation around, like in a UX refresh, or you're looking for next things in user experience, is anyone willing to call out some of the things you'd be interested in seeing us focus on?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Great, Brian.
No, I'll say I really appreciate the being involved in some of the design groups or getting some of those user group design sessions. I can't think of the right word right at the moment, but we get a little preview of that. But I will tell you that with some of the new enhancements, it's kind of forgotten about the mobile friendly. I can't tell you the amount of times I've had challenges, when I've had to leverage my phone as an access point to look at, something that's, not working as expected, or just to have an answer a question when I don't have my full laptop. So I would love to see that as a priority to make sure that it's still accessible and from the main site, not from the mobile app, right? Because it redirects you to a mobile site. That to me is a very high priority, just because I don't carry my laptop with me, and if as my scenario starts becoming more and more 24/7 availability, it becomes crucial to be able to get access to the platform and just see, even something as simple as checking if an atom is online, right, or a cluster is healthy, right? Things like that is kind of challenging with the new UX, but I do love the direction that it's going. It's much easier to use. Although I'm not a huge fan of the new splash screen, but I do think that the consistency updates of the new interactions and the new shapes is much more pleasant on the eyes.
Cool. Yeah, for the whole group, because we get a lot of mixed feedback on the new splash screen. I had pushed very heavily, well, Rajesh and I, on we need to just make the shift to platform. It's going to be a little bit of shock and awe, but we need to get our users overall to embrace the fact that we have multiple services. And that did come at the expense a little bit of, okay, get it there, get people moved. There's not a lot of function in that screen right now. But as we move things like things we're looking out into the future, so you all have some insight into that, is like, hey, our runtime, right? We don't want that to be just attached to the integration service that you're all used to. In the future, it's going to be related to flow, integration. We brought in data catalog and prep. If we want to move hub on-prem, it'll likely be related to the runtime, right? So things like managing atoms and runtimes should be in a central location versus tied specific to the integration screens and user management. And we're introducing, billing management, metering, and all of that, which people will see later. That all goes in a central location, and you'll get some more function there. But that's why we did it.
Oh no, that's good. Yeah, it's definitely growing on me. So the splashing is not as much of a shock, but it is,
yeah.
So thank you.
Cool.
This is
But
Jen.
mobile loud and clear, hear you on that. Go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say one of the things I saw at the conference, Boomi World, they were talking about the new UX and everything, and something that I struggle with since we've been using Boomi for 8 years. My component explorer is just bloated, and so it's really hard, to apply consistency and clean up and manage things with drag and drop. So and I think you guys are going there, but some way with the UX to allow us to really cleanly manage all of our components and move them around and clean them up, standardize them.
Okay.
On that note, I am very happy using the new component objects of the Answer API to help us identify those, orphaned objects or those things that are no longer being used. So we've got some on our roadmap to help clean that up because they're in the similar situation as Jen's mentioned.
Okay, got it. Cool. Anyone else?
I was going to ask Rajesh what stuck.
Okay.
Him.
Yeah, a couple of things really stood out for me, and I love getting this feedback. So one was the biggest item there is the better mapping functionality. I think integration mapping usually takes up the majority of the time in any kind of end-to-end integration effort. And as you can see, with increasing endpoints and the number of SaaS applications that are exploding in every domain, doing these integration mappings by hand and expecting a integration partner or implementation consultant to know about every endpoint and the middleware itself is just not practically feasible. So we put in a lot of effort in our intelligence capability. We have around 30 terabytes of metadata that we are putting in a data lake and harvesting that so that we can improve our intelligence recommendation capabilities, both from a attribute mapping perspective, but now also we've improved that to implement it at the operation level as well with Boomi Suggest. So that's one thing that stood out, and we are actually working towards that. The other thing that really stood out to me, even though it's not marked as the big ticket item, but there's a lot of these small items around architecture to dev or moving processes or unit testing and plug and play model and more CI/CD content. And Ed alluded to some of these things before around moving to that platform vision. And one of the things where we are moving into a platform is to open up the platform to extensibility, to making everything API enabled and to be able to provide all the component metadata as API. And this is something that was recently released as well. And our goal is to be able to then embed that into any flexible CI/CD of choice so that you can implement your own lifecycle management code promotion workflows in your organization. I mean, that's what we see a lot of our customers asking us for, the flexibility in doing that. So those are the two things that stood out to me. The one thing that stood out to me, which is not here, which I'd like to ask our team over here, our panel, the question would be around runtime. So we have introduced the capability around elasticity of our runtime atoms and molecules, and also recently released their Kubernetes reference architecture. So just curious, how many of our customers here or our users here are actually using that elastic capability, and how interested are you in the Kubernetes and the whole road towards a service mesh? So just curious to hear that feedback.
Now's your chance.
Anyone already using Kubernetes and using Boomi along with that?
Hey Rajesh, this is Hilal from OSI. So we are very much interested, and we have a couple of plans where we are already planning to implement Boomi molecules on, I know Ed knows about it. So we are planning to implement it on Kubernetes, either on Azure Kubernetes services or Pivotal Kubernetes services. So that certainly seems to be a lot of traction with my customers who are planning to leverage this elasticity capabilities of Boomi. So we are very much interested.
Okay, excellent, awesome.
There are a couple of questions coming in from the group chat. David or Jeff, are either of you out there, and would you be comfortable expanding on those ideas and asking either Ed or Rajesh? This is specifically talking about the notes.
Oh, hey, sure. This is Jeff. I work with, sorry, that's my dog. Work with F&T Consultants, and I've been doing a lot of integrations for customers over the last year across lots of different ERPs and whatnot. But you know, the best-selling feature to me of Boomi is just its ease of use. I mean, customers, it sells itself with the interface compared to other iPaaS platforms, which is awesome. So when we build integrations and hand it off, they can usually, you know, run with it. But the one thing that's kind of missing is that notes feature is nice, but it does kind of pop up all over the place. And when you reorganize things, it's kind of hard to really kind of document what you're doing. So it'd be really cool to kind of expand on that note feature a little bit and make it easier to put notes maybe throughout a process, maybe on different objects, things like that, and expand on it a little bit.
Okay. Hi, this is Philip Bernick from Authority, and I kind of wanted to reach back to the previous question about elasticity. We've actually implemented molecules in a number of different frameworks, including Kubernetes, vSphere, VMware, and AWS. So we'd be happy to talk to folks about doing that.
Great, thank you.
I would also touch on, Rajesh touched on a little bit of the CI/CD stuff and the DevOps pieces. I know a lot of what I'll say, the Boomi internal community, our sales engineers, our services folks, et cetera, have been doing a lot of work on building some frameworks using our flow technology, best practices, some white paper things. I think we've even done some webinars. Has anybody seen those, participated in those? Are you all aware of them? I just want to put a plug in for them that they have been doing quite a bit of work on that.
This is Nick from Ionis. I've kind of been involved in that, and I'll take this opportunity to call out my feature request, which is unit testing. I've been speaking to Adam about it, but you know, the ability to mock data from a connector, I think is pretty critical to be able to run unit tests, because the way you do it at the moment, we have to put an if statement, are you in test mode, then put fake data in is too clunky to use at the moment. But the new CI/CD pipeline tool in Flow that came out, I think just a couple of days ago, is pretty cool. There's a lot of useful stuff in there.
Cool. Yeah, we've heard the unit testing, and Rajesh and I have talked about that actually a number of times as well. But yes, we're with you on that one. At some point, we will, in the roadmap, we will get that in.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. So maybe have time for perhaps one more question, and then we're gonna get Charles teed up. Charles, I just made you co-host, so you should be able to share when the time comes. But any other questions or comments? Mandy, do you have any other additional comments you wanted to add or Rajesh? Kind of wrap things up and move into the next section here.
I had one question. When will the Boomi Business Glossary be available for purchase?
That's a good question. We'll have to get back to you on that.
I have one more question. This is Daryl. I've always longed for a document that was basically what amounts to a textual representation of the code. It's sometimes very hard to find without looking through a whole bunch of shapes where certain profile elements are used, where properties are used. It'd be really nice to be able to just say, show me where all these things, where this is used, and have it actually highlight a shape or something. Because it's sometimes when you're doing some changing and you're trying to do where used impact analysis, it's very tedious to go through everything looking for things.
Didn't they announce being able to export everything as XML? That was, where's that at? Because that would be one way of getting everything out.
I think I saw something like that, but it was still polluted with lots of internal stuff that doesn't really mean anything to anybody, you know, GUIDs and all kinds of junk like that just kind of get in the way.
Hi, everyone. This is Chris Timmerman. I just want to jump in real quick, if possible, on this. I think a lot of these things that you're highlighting are things that we know exist in the product, and we wrap them around this serviceability concept of making the product more serviceable. This is something that my teams work with engineering and product on a daily basis. I'd love to capture these in a very specific way. So I'll ask Andrew and Matt to send you something. If you're willing, I'd love to capture every single one of these serviceability type requests and then map them back to efforts that we might have going on already. And then, you know, try to get you some specifics back. But this is something near and dear to my heart. It's something that Ed and Rajesh hear from me on a regular basis on. But I'd love to capture this information as detailed as possible from you.
Sure, I'm happy to help because it'll help me get my work done. I mean, sometimes if you haven't looked at an integration for a while, you know, it's really hard to remember where everything's stashed away. I mean, it's.
I should have introduced myself a little better. Just so everyone knows, I run customer assurance for Boomi. So the Boomiverse team rolls up into my organization. I own customer support, I own our advanced support engineering team, and I own our managed services business. So my teams are on the front lines with most of you folks on a regular basis. And so really want to capture, I guess my point in all of this is to really capture some of your feedback. I think it's invaluable and something we need to focus on. So thanks.
I actually think I asked for a feature edition of being able to, quote, print out your source code 4 years ago when I first started using the system. Became frustrated trying to find things without, you know, painstakingly going through a lot of shapes and drilling down into maps, looking for map functions that may reference profile elements. And, you know, I mean,
I think to me, that's really like having to get into the source code level is probably too deep. But to your point, the ability to traverse a process in a very myopic and detailed way, and then get the relationships as your data traverses through the process steps or through an API or whatever it is you may be doing, and having more visibility into what's actually happening, I think is the core requirement. And there's a lot of different ways I think the product needs to be adjusted to handle some of those things. And like I said, there's a lot going on behind the scenes between myself, Ed, and Rajesh, and the engineering team on trying to improve serviceability. And some of the things you're asking for, I think there's a couple of different places that we may be doing that. But I'd love to just spend some time with you, maybe one-on-one and dig into exactly what you're asking for. I think that could be valuable.
Sure, no problem.
If you wouldn't mind, just make sure that we capture your send it to Matt or Andrew, and I'll follow up with you directly.
What I can do is you can either post the question through the community and mention me, or if you want to send me an email directly, I'll put my email address in the chat. Just throw your questions in there, and I'll track down next steps and answers for you, and be able to circle back and close the loop.
Okay, I'll probably post it to the community so we can take advantage of anybody else's comments.
Awesome.
That they may have.
Sounds great. Sounds great. Okay.
I love that answer.
Great.
That is the best answer I've heard all day.
It is. Cool. Awesome. Well, this is great, guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us, and thank you for all the contributors out there who are taking full advantage of this opportunity to connect with our leadership here, and hopefully gave you some answers that can help you all make more and better informed decisions for the future, and continue to accelerate your Boomi your journey on Boomi. So thank you again, Mandy, Ed, Rajesh. Really appreciate that. I'm excited for the next stage here in today's agenda. Charles, are you ready to go?
No, but I will.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
Got it.
Hopefully, I'm not catching you off guard here. I see you haven't fallen asleep yet. That's a good sign.
It is. All right. Can you see my screen?
We can. Take it away. It's all yours.
Right on. Thank you, and thank you for the opportunity to talk. It's not often that I get out of my work to discuss about the things I'm working on.
Well,
so
this serves as affirmation that you're doing all the right stuff.
Right. Just real quick, this is a kind of a journey story. We're going to talk about SBM's journey with Boomi, how it all started, and where we're heading. So from an agenda perspective, we're going to do a quick company overview, look at the integration history. We're going to take a look at the old architecture, why we made a decision to go with Boomi, or what was the compelling reasons why we went with Boomi. We're going to also talk about the future, or the currently underway architecture strategy, and also kind of give an idea as to where we're at and how far we've come along, and some Q&A. So SBM, and I'm going to read off the screen here because that's what's been put out, is a soft service provider focused on developing empowered associates, standardized processes, management systems, and reporting tools that make your life easier. Today, SBM employs more than 7,000 individuals, servicing more than 350 million square feet throughout the United States, Canada, Latin America, Singapore, and UK. Our market sectors include corporate headquarters, manufacturing, hospital, healthcare, pharmaceutical, defense, education, high-tech, sports, entertainment facilities, and distribution. So what does that all mean? Well, it means that we have a wide variety of customers, and what we do is we manage the facilities, and we're really good at it. But as you can imagine, that kind of business has some interesting dynamics, and one of them is we are constantly challenged with how the world is evolving. If you think about it, high tech has changed over the last 20 years. Pharmaceuticals have changed, and so as our customer base changes or evolves, we have to follow along. So it's an interesting dynamic, and certainly keeps us on our toes. And so Boomi and our journey with Boomi is a pivotal one. I'm going to go into that later. But before I do that, so I didn't get to answer the questions that were asked earlier, so I thought I'd throw that in there last minute. So who am I? As a human being, I'd say I am the oldest of 11 kids. 8 of them, I have 8 sisters. I have 2 kids. I have a wife. I have a great life. I'm Canadian, so I'm a transplant. I came over to the US when I was 21. I've done it all in IT, I think. I've done the data center thing. I've racked them and I stacked them, built software from nothing to services. I have managed products. I have produced products, big products. And now I am at SBM, and I've been here for about just under a year. And my remit here is to get to the business. First of all, I own applications entirely, the entire stack, and data, and the integrations. And so Boomi has become central to my world in a matter of months. And we'll get into that story. So just shy of a year and making things happen. From a history standpoint, this is not a dissimilar story to many, and there's so much more to add here, but I just wanted to keep it brief. Typical, lots of platforms just accumulated over the years. Employee coming and going, systems just left, as is. A lot of unsupported integrations, a lot of tribal knowledge, inconsistencies in how things are put together. The architectures were wildly, vastly different. So it made for data management extremely chaotic. And so when I was first brought on board, it became very apparent that we, in order for us to take the company to the next level, we had to address these foundational problems. And so what does that look like? So I've taken a snapshot of the architecture, and obviously I've stripped down a lot of it, but this is what it pretty much looks like. Some of you might think, well, our environment's way more complex. Well, this is grossly simplified. But what this highlights is just different data sitting all over, kind of peppered throughout the entire ecosystem. You have different forms of integrations everywhere doing very important things. You have people doing manual things that are very important. And there's no strategy. So it's just kind of like the wild, wild west. And so it makes for scalability impossible. It makes for serviceability ridiculously hard, and it makes maintainability also just as complex. And so you can't scale, you can't grow, and you're kind of imploding, if you will. This kind of environment will also foster the perpetuation of no integration standards, will create snowflakes and heroes, and also perpetuates tribal knowledge. And this will create very, very angry and irritated customers. And those are the people I put on the sides. The red ones are super pissed. The orange ones, mildly pissed. Gray ones, I don't think they care. Green ones, right? This dynamic is not a healthy one at all. From a technical standpoint, from a behavioral standpoint, from a business standpoint, it's all bad. So, so this reminds me of what I would have called the old classic data closet, right? And the IT manager back in the 90s. They're very similar. It's the same, it's kind of like the same mindset, right? And so what the intent or what the journey is to get to more of centralized standards. And so the stuff on the right? You want order, you want standards, you want scalability. You want to be able to service your customer base in a fashion that that doesn't take down your entire organization just to fix a problem. Oh, by the way, by all means, if you have any questions, do interrupt me. I can go on and on and on. So if anybody has any questions, and Andrew, if anybody's chatting for and want questions, let me know. I'm not seeing the chat.
Will do. I'll keep. I got it on my eyes.
Right.
I got my eyes on it.
So then that begets the question of, so we're on this journey, right? So me and my boss, my bosses, my peers, we're on this journey, and we're like, okay, let's take a look at what the industry has to offer, right? So we have been in this business before, collectively. We know who the players are, so let's go fishing. So we went through a portfolio, did the RFP process and whatnot, and what it came down to in my mind is two things. It's Boomi as a business and Boomi as a platform, and those are very, very important. Obviously pricing, right? But then you look at how long have they been in this space, right? And then you look at, let's take a look at the product portfolio. Are they just like really finite in their approach and solving for a very singular problem? Or do they have a larger vision? And then you look at the product maturity, which goes with the space, but not really, right? So the two are loosely connected, but not. So you look at the product maturity, like what am I interested in as a customer, and how long has that existed under you, right? Is it a recent acquisition? Is it something you built? You know, so on and so forth, and look at the customer base and what they're talking about. And then also it's a healthy M&A strategy. So the reason why I put that there is because that shows me that the business is not reluctant to invest in things that they know work, rather than try to build it themselves. You know, they have an appetite, and that in my mind is like super good. Then it comes down to support, right? When you know the proverbial stuff hits the fan, you know, who do I turn to? Then you have the talent pool, which is also super important. As a business, I need to be able to collect talent in the market and have them come in, right? I can't just adopt a platform and then suffer or try to find talent that doesn't exist. Partner network, that is a big one. And don't let that mislead you as being fifth. That's super important, because these are the people, this is the network that you can rely on, that Boomi will say, hey, if you know, here's some recommendations. And we as a business have partnered with OSI, and I think Dhaliwal is on the call as well as a few others. And they have been by far awesome. User community, Andrew gave me a bit of flack on that one. He's like, that needs to be at the top. Amongst everything else, it's super important, because I read the user community threads at least no less than twice a week, truly. And then there was Aws Quick Start. I feel it should go on the platform, but I'm going to put it here because this shows that Boomi has made connections across the aisle, so to speak. And this is important to us, and I'll get into that later. And then as a platform, right? So Boomi as a platform, look, you have security, you have audit logs, you have monitoring and alerts, integrated versioning, MDM and data governance, guardrails. You have enforced processes, which are the guardrails, collection of native connectors, and then there's so much more. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on. So in all of that, it became wildly obvious in comparison to what everybody else had to offer, that this was the way to go. I'll also caveat with, and I say this with hesitancy, but I will say it because it's on record. My boss initially came out and said, Boomi is the right choice. And I said, oh, no, hold on. Let's do the right thing and talk to the market. And then when we finally made the decision, he had the, you should have just listened to me the first time and we wouldn't have had to do all this stuff. So kudos to him, right? So after making the decision, we took a 3-month journey with Boomi. So we quickly partnered up with OSI, and we went down and we replicated one of the most critical integrations in the business. We connected to all of our systems and services. We obviously broke a few eggs along the way, just a bit of ignorance on our end, and not knowing what we were doing, but also, trying new things, right? So when you try new things, you kind of break eggs. And we made some really good friends along the way. So believe it or not, Boomi has always been a fantastic partner in all of this. So, you bring Boomi on board, you try to do some stuff, and I never felt like I was just left hanging dry with my own problems. I always had somebody to call. I had multiple channels to activate Boomi and to help me with some potentially ridiculous questions, but nonetheless, they were important at the time. So, so this resulted in an architecture that after all the testing was done, we were like, okay, so how can we best use Boomi for SBM? So, introducing the new simplified integration architecture. Woo-hoo! But then we got to thinking. It's like, okay, so integrations, that's all cool, that's great. It moves the data back and forth, structured, unstructured, awesome. But I felt like, or we felt like, Boomi has more to offer. And so we started to think about, well, wait a minute, this is only one portion of the business, right? So you have the integration and then you have the data warehouse, data lake, if you will. But what about after that, right? So I came up with a different architecture, and this is going to be mind-blowing. Voila, end-to-end integration architecture. So what does this mean? Does this mean you have 2 Boomis? No. It's the same Boomi, obviously. But what this does is there's, in my mind, in the architecture world, there's the primary systems and all the data flows, right? There's the data, right? And the data warehouse or the data lake. But then you have the other stuff, the BI layer, if you will, or the analytics layer. And this is where I decided to leverage Boomi in both places to empower both sides of business. And so what does that actually translate to? Okay. So think of it this way. If you were to take a very high agnostic look at this, you have your cloud offerings, and it can even be on-prem really. What we have is a hybrid, so it's on-prem and cloud. But this would apply to the whole gambit, which is you have your integration world, right? And where all your data is passing through. You have your golden records, you have your MDM and all that kind of stuff. You have a data strategy in after that, right? So you move your data into a data lake, or you move your data into a data warehouse. And then you have Boomi on the other side serving that data up, moving that data across the aisle. And there's a reason why I did this. I think it's on the other slide. Is it? No. Okay, so the important part about this, and so I was asked to go into the next level of detail, but the reason why this is important is because it allows me to be extremely nimble and somewhat agnostic in my architecture. And so you'll notice that I have cloud stuff there. You'll notice that I have data stuff on the right side, they can be whatever you want them to be. And so I didn't want to lock the business into any particular place. Boomi can be moved. Boomi can go from one to the other, and you're not even batting an eye. You can be in Azure, you can be in AWS. Cool. You can be in Google Cloud, I think. You can be on-prem. So having Boomi at playing both parts allows you to be extremely nimble into where you want your data to go, how you want your data to flow. So what we've done is we're using Amazon Redshift as a data storage. So we'll call it a data lake, right? And what we're doing is we're using Boomi to take semi-structured data and we're moving it into a structured data environment table. We're moving semi-structured to semi-structured, so JSON to JSON, JSON to XML, XML to JSON, whatever. You're taking structured and then you're moving it to structured. Now there's a caveat with that, which is Boomi is not a database synchronizer. So don't let that mislead you. I'm not synchronizing databases. This is not real-time synchronization. This is just moving data from a relational table or database into another, right? And then you have structured to semi-structured, which is you take data and then you convert it to XML or JSON, and then you stuff it somewhere. And you encrypt it along the way, right? So Boomi, as you know, has a pretty good, a robust security end-to-end. And so what we're doing is we are taking the data and we're encrypting it all the way through and into Redshift and then out of it as well. And then on the other side, we are then able to then translate it again if we want to and if we choose to. And then that's where we apply the business rules. So what this allows us to do, and again, I come back to the agnostic or the nimbleness of the approach, which is then the business rules and the data filters exist in Boomi. They don't exist in a SQL database. They don't exist in a Postgres database. All your data marts or all your data stores are fed from this, and the logic is applied through this, and then on it goes. And so in a world where the rules change a lot, this gives you kind of a central place to apply business rules, either soft rules or hard rules across the entire stack, or the flow, if you will. And every flow can be different, so you can have different business rules, if you will. So let's talk about the integration part, the left side of the thing. So the world that we're in is an interesting one. So we have an opportunity to leverage some of the top tier platforms, enterprise, if you will, and we have architected this so that JobBite can talk to NetSuite, NetSuite can talk to UltiPro, and everything goes into Redshift. And how this goes is that the data lake gets updated as the records get updated, right? So new records inserted, boom, into Redshift. Records updated, boom, into Redshift. And so it makes it for a very well-orchestrated movement across the entire integration platform. So now on the other side, and this is where the agnosticness comes in at, which is Redshift can, Boomi feeding from Redshift can serve up stuff in Azure. It can dump stuff into S3. It can use Amazon RDS whatever's your flavor. I mean, it's got JDBC drivers. It's got everything you need. So this allows for the businesses to request certain types of platforms, right? So if you have a finance department who maybe they have a contract, right, that they can't get out of, and so they are going to want the data on a specific platform that they have, and there's no if, ands, or buts. Great, you can make that happen. S3 is also a very viable place for data to be held. Amazon RDS, cheap storage, awesome. So this just gives us the ability to use Boomi as the central data propagator.
Hey, Charles, just real quick, sorry to jump in, just real quick time check. Just want to make sure you're aware. We have a little time for questions. Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry to interrupt.
So AWS Quick Start became very, very relevant when we first kicked off. So that was there was an aha moment where we thought we were about to rebuild or build the entire infrastructure ourselves, and we don't have the skill sets to do it. At least we didn't have the skill depth. And so after a few conversations with Boomi and AWS, we went out and we just took on the Quick Start program, and we were up in 6 hours. I mean, it was fast and it was flawless. And it has worked flawlessly for us for a very long time. Well, 9 months. It's been great. So where are we at in our journey? We're 6 months in. We have done semi-structured to semi-structured, structured to structured. I hope that our next phase is going to be semi-structured to structured, as well as structured to semi-structured. We have adopted Boomi as the integration standard. We have more than 16 data processes. We have more than 10 in the works. Connectors, I mean, we're pretty diligent about how we're using connectors, so that's pretty awesome. And just a quick overview as to what one of the integrations look like. And one of my feature requests, if you could, is a zoom out function that does something a little bit sexier than this. This is pretty painful. When you have big processes like this and you want to kind of put it in documentation, I don't want to have to stitch images together. From a visual standpoint, it's just not appealing. But nonetheless, pretty complicated stuff. And this was done by OSI. This is one that's currently in place, and it's doing really well. And this is one of the smaller integrations and I think my guys here on the call that he put together. This is a Redshift integration that allows us to move data from a Postgres database that's hiding behind a Bastion server, and then moving it into Redshift on a cadence. And we have about 5 or 6 of those happening right now, which is really nice. So there's my story.
Awesome, Charles. Thank you so much. What I would like to do, if we could, really appreciate the effort you put into this. It's a fantastic story. Hopefully it's definitely applicable across the board. So hopefully folks were able to learn a lot from that. Would love to see you more active in the community and certainly providing your expertise. For the Q&A portion of this, would you mind taking that to the chat while we
Absolutely not. Yep.
That'd be great. That'd be great. Let's get Brent set up. So Rowan, are you gonna drive this and was Brent able to get into the Zoom? How you want to work it?
I think Brent's on the Zoom. I'll drive the slides because he sent them to me, and I can present, from my downloaded Zoom version. So okay. I should be able to present. And Brent is on the line to tell his story about the customer journey. So I'll just kick this off. Folks on the line who don't know me, Rowan Sandel, I'm an account exec here in the Bay Area. I do know a lot of you on the line. Great to see everybody. Brent Sarcone is a customer at SideInc. I'm going to let him tell his journey, but when you're ready, when I'm ready to present, I will. Brent, are you on the line? Let's see if we can hear him. Maybe still on mute.
What if Brent was a victim of the power outage?
Maybe. Let's see. I've been texting with him regularly. Whoop, forgive me. So, do we see Brent on the line?
Let me go through. So Brent dialed in. Brent, if you can hear us and you're trying to chat, you're trying to talk, you're possibly on mute. I see Brett here. Brent, are you there? See you on the line here. I see you unmuted.
He's dialing in again, he said.
Okay,
he said,
cool. Great.
He's dialing in again. Boy, Scott Wilson, as a Boomi architect, was going to get enrolled in filling in, Scott. I bet you didn't realize you were going to present when you dialed into the call earlier today.
Great, so Rowan, we see the slides. You're up and running on the share.
Should be, yeah.
Great.
So for those, I will say, hey, Charles, I just want to say from an audience member, great presentation. I love the mix of business value versus technical value. And it's exciting to see the journey, right? I know Brian Glennon, your account exec, well. I know it was a journey to choose Boomi. Now it's a journey to get more and more systems in place and build that data layer for your connected business that you've always wanted. You know, I think it's exciting, and I'm glad to hear your story. That was great. Okay.
I saw Brent and he's disappeared again. I don't know if he's trying to dial back in, perhaps.
Well, what we can do right now is, I don't know if there's any questions for Charles to answer. I have one question for Charles. Charles, if you're still listening, I wanted to understand, where are you putting the master data management, the master data piece with the hub? It sounds like that was a shift in your architectural plans, right? To have that be part of it from day one as opposed to layer in after. Can you speak about how that, because Brent also is going to touch on master data hub. And I think it's kind of cool that it's not just an integration platform, but a data management platform. Can you spend a minute talking about that while Brent maybe gets on?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you hear me?
Oh, is that Brent?
Yeah, can you guys hear me? Sorry.
Yes, we can.
Hey, Brent. We can.
All right.
Well, Charles, we'll table that. But glad, Brent, you jumped through all the hoops, rode your bike through the flaming hoops to get back on the audio. Sorry about that.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in a poor location in Inadvertent. Okay, so let me just give a quick company overview. So Brent's our co-director of MIS from Side Inc. Side is a tech-enabled real estate brokerage. We were founded in late 2017. Our business is basically a massive disruptor to the real estate brokerage industry. We provide a brokers as a service, a platform to real estate agents and brokers who want to facilitate transactions just cheaper, faster, and better than what they get from like the Remaxes and the Sotheby's and all the Compasses of the world out there. So what we do as a business is we go out, we recruit the biggest hitters, the people that do, you know, $100 million in sales volume a year. We bring them onto our brokerage, launch them on our platform, and run all of their transactional management, marketing, back office services, everything for them for an annual fee. Okay. So basically what our agents want is they want to build a brand and a business that they can take with them and own forever, which currently isn't offered in the industry, right? You're signed up with a brokerage, you're, you know, Joe Smith with Keller Williams, you know, San Francisco or what have you. So what we do is we build them a brand and an identity that really allows them to, you know, to grow as individuals and really build a strong business that's, you know, geared towards their needs, right? So as part of that, I mean, you know, we have to scale quickly. I mean, this is a business here. So Rowan, you're on the home slide. So if you want to just flip through quickly, I'll illustrate how crazy growth has been for us on slide 2, our team. We've basically gone from a team of 1, which was me in July of last year when I joined. And I'm just kind of giving you this as an illustration of how, you know, I'll spin this into Boomi in a second, but basically, we've gone from a team of 1, which was me, which was brought on to help, you know, select an ERP system and roll that out, you know, in late 2019. And it's grown from a team of 1 to, you know, 9 plus a handful of additional contractors at any given time. So we've grown super quick, and now we have a full-time product owner that I've hired, Scott Wilson. So Scott's got a long background working with Dell Boomi, Integrate, MDM, all the various modules, lightly with Flow. And so now we're at the point where it's rocket ship. We need to have all of our systems implemented at an enterprise level, being around for only basically 2 years. I mean, it's literally zero from QuickBooks to Workday ERP, almost as you can blink a finger. I'll show you kind of the growth on the next slide, Rowan, just to illustrate here. So back in the next 2 slides kind of show the growth, but we've gone from a handful of teams, late 2017, or 2017, early 2018 is really when we started as a business. We had about a dozen teams, I'll call it. And now you can see from this slide here, it's just crazy. There's over 150 teams that have come on the site since, January of 2018. So if you want to go to slide 4, this will give you an idea of kind of, some more growth here. So basically our core business operations are in California. We're licensed there. We're licensed in Texas. We're licensed in Florida. And we've barely scratched the surface thanks to the coronavirus in Florida. So, just shows you the total overlap. We're going from, a few amount of teams to a lot of teams. We have a lot of systems in place. We have our core application, which is basically all of our listing, open house, transaction. It's our hub, if you will. Okay, and then we have all of our operational systems for transaction and commission management. We have our CRM, our ERP, and then our BI layer that handles all our agent reporting for them. So I'll just give you another quick little peek on slide 5 here as to how this is going for us so far this year. So to give you an idea, since I started and Rowan can keep me honest here, but since we started this in August of last year, we've gone from basically I'll call it the very basic Premium Plus or whatever package, all the way up to Enterprise Plus in 12 months. I mean, we've gone from 0 connectors up to now we're up to 40 licensed connectors, thousands upon thousands of master data records in the hub, 5 flows, one of which I'll talk about here in a minute on the final slide, which is incredible. I mean, without, Dell Boomi, really, I would need to hire a team, of 20 engineers really to crank out all this stuff, custom code. And to give you a background, I've been doing this for several years with Accenture and EY, Oracle. My background has been, primarily rip and replace ERP implementations and integration projects where you're under a 9-month timeline. There's a carve out, there's an IPO, there's some kind of event going on, transactional event or liquidity event. And so, this is what I'm used to, right? And Dell Boomi, I should say, has always been, the tool in my tool shed that I bring to every deal I ever worked on in order to facilitate all these integrations and, to enable speed, right? Speed to value. That's what we need here internally in a cost containment model. So if we go to slide 5, I'll give you an overview. Kind of, I'm not going to get into the technical weeds and stuff. I mean, everyone here is probably pretty seasoned with how the sauce is made, so I won't get into that. But for us, I mean, I'll give you an idea. Flow is something new. I've always wanted to use it. I've never been able to, really sell it to clients. It's unfortunate because I think it's a great product and it helps, basically take an integrate canvas and throw UIs on it and, put it in front of a business user and you're off to the races with, having business users, do stuff rather than rely on the integration. People are, twiddling their thumbs waiting for data to go from point A to point B. Now you put them in the driver's seat. And so what we're doing with Flow is we've actually taken a internally built customer onboarding tool that we use to launch all of our agents. So you come to site, day one, you need to, once you sign your contract, you're officially part of our brokerage. We need to onboard you to that platform as a service effectively. So our app and about a dozen other apps that have to get provisioned. So today it takes over 12 weeks to get this done. And so because of all the time, the manual effort, the homegrown app we built, we spent over 500 grand on it, complete failure. I had a whole product team and engineering team working on it, just never made it over the finish line. And so with Flow, we've been able to, and that was a 1.5-year endeavor. In 6 months, we've been able to rebuild that entire application in Flow with all the integrate processes, the integration to MDM. So now when we launch a team, all of these different systems are pumping data into MDM. We have agent models that capture all the pertinent IDs and such. So at any time, our engineering team can pull data, if they need entity data or any kind of master data about an agent out of that single hub from the time they sign up with sides. So, I think it's a bit of a different approach, probably from what most of you are used to, because really my job here is to build our business around Boomi and the product suite it offers. And so that's exactly what we're doing. My mandate from my CTO is basically build everything you can off the shelf unless we absolutely have a customer facing experience that we just can't achieve with something around Flow. So far, we haven't seen anything that we can't achieve. So that's what we're doing. We're building our business, but not the other way around, which I think is the way to go, and it's enabled us to scale. If you look here, just 750K is what we've run some numbers of finance, and using Flow versus a staffed engineering team maintaining an application, it's a huge cost savings. Time to value for our customers, like I said, so 12 weeks launch. Now we're going to be down to about 12 days, hopefully even less. We can launch a single agent in a matter of clicks versus days and days of manually configuring systems and adding users and doing all this stuff manually. So it's going to be a game changer for us. And so we have 50 teams, new teams in launch right now. And hopefully we'll have our Flow application live here shortly in the next couple of weeks. We just finished dev and are in the UAT process. So very excited, and couldn't have done it without Boomi Flow, to be quite honest with you. There's no way. So with that, I'll kind of go into the MDM piece here. So for us, you talk in the San Francisco circles here, and you've got a lot of smart people on engineering teams, developers, and people who build the coolest applications. But then you start to kind of peel back the layers and really start to pry into MDM and how do we master our data about all our customers, and what system is the system of record, and where do I go to get entity ID A versus B, and who owns what, and yada yada. So no good answers. So really what I try to do here is again, build around the tool. We're going to use MDM. We're going to create a model which all of our systems are going to interact with via integrate in the hub. So we've built our business from the ground up to use a master data model that helps with provisioning of all sorts of stuff. So outside of just the flow piece, we have other jobs that run off of records getting created in Salesforce, and then things are done in the commission system to onboard new users in that system, and emails are sent for agents to enter their bank account information in our treasury management tool. So all sorts of possibilities have been created with MDM. We use it primarily for master data management around our agents and teams, users, if you will. But we are using it as well for data quality and integrity in order to ensure that integrations are updating transactions from one system to another correctly and not overwriting or stepping on any data. So it's really been a great help for us. And I think, the longer we have this tool live, the more and more use cases will develop, cross department with our friends in engineering. And then really, like I said, on the integrate piece, our story is pretty wild, right? 0 to 40 connectors in a year and a half, 2 years. It's incredible growth. We have just to put it in perspective, we have one guy, Scott Wilson, running all of this. So I can tell you right now with certainty, coming from my consulting days, that if we had MuleSoft or cast iron or one of these other dinosaurs, that we'd have to custom code to hell. I mean, there's no way. I need an army. So it keeps our costs contained. Shifts a lot of this from CapEx development, right, and capitalized costs on our balance sheet, which finance loves that we can avoid that and push everything to OpEx. So it's great. It's great for us. And I just think it's just really flexible. And again, I've known the tool for years. I'm fortunate, and I'm in a position where I can be the evangelist at side and really sell this product for all its capabilities and leverage every module I possibly can. Right, it's one more body I don't have to hire. So overall, great growth story. Without the Dell partnership, we wouldn't be where we're at today. On pace to process over $7.5 billion worth of real estate transactions this year. To give you some context, that puts Side in the top 10 in the country, based on 2019 numbers, just over 2 years of operations. So great story. I'll pause there. I don't have anything really else. Scott, if you want to jump in and add anything, feel free to. Otherwise, appreciate the opportunity to present our case.
Yeah, Scott, you do all the heavy lifting on the Boomi side. If you want to mention anything, that's great. I do want to carve out time for one question after that. Scott, do you have anything to add? Scott, like I said, is the main Boomi guy driving all this integration work.
Yep. So not really. I mean, the something should be said that Dell Professional Services came in and began the development of. Well, not began. They actually did the development of the majority of the backbone of this. So I've inherited and taken over since then. So it's a joint effort, and I think Brent kind of covered it all. That's it.
Yeah. Hey, Brent, one thing I noticed that you and Charles also highlighted was the idea about Master Data Hub, not just moving data from source to target, but taking advantage of the models and ensuring data quality. Can you speak to just how easy or hard that's been, but also how you're seeing value of it right now? And maybe Charles, you can chime in after, but I think that's a great differentiator for our platform, is that data synchronization in flight.
So it might be easier for me to just give you sort of one of the use cases that we have.
Yeah.
With respect to data of MDM and Hub. So for instance, when a realtor or an agent passes a certain stage, which happens to be license transferred, they're automatically sent to Boomi by Salesforce Platform Events. In Boomi, we basically provision them into a person model that automatically causes a channel output to Workday, where they're given a supplier ID. That information goes back into Hub, triggers out to another channel where they get provisioned into a financial app called Modern Treasury, out to another channel where they actually get provisioned in Brokerment, which is our brokerage application. That all happens just within a few minutes, right? We don't even have to touch it. It used to take forever to get somebody onboarded, and you can imagine the communication nightmare. That's just one use case. We have dozens. So just an example of how we're leveraging Hub. Yeah.
Good. Make sure the right data gets to the source, not just the data.
Well, it's validated, right? And proper people are notified if there's issues. So, yeah.
That's awesome. So I have a different story in that our story with MDH Golden Record is nascent, as in we are tackling the integration issues, and there's a whole undertaking that I haven't spoken about because I only had so much time, which is essentially going to redefine the entire stack from a primary system standpoint. And so in order to be able to support that transition, we have to be in a better place to allow for that transition to happen at an integration level. Once we've addressed this issue, we're going to hop right into the master data hub, and we're already starting to strategize as to how we're going to do that. We figured out how in terms of logically, but then there's the whole operational aspect of it, right? Which is instilling a data governance on top of that. I mean, it's your data movements are only as good as the governance that kind of defines it, right? And so you can have all the bells and whistles moving data, but if you're without governance, you're without a rudder and without a sail. You're just doing whatever. And so this is creating an internal conversation, and a really healthy one, around, you know, who owns the data, who's the data steward, and then, you know, data governance, and you're responsible for the quality of the data as it comes through the systems, and you, data steward, own that, right? That's your job. And I don't want to know the data more than you, because that's a bad place for me to be in. And so this conversation is happening, and it's a fantastic one, because you can see the reluctance of certain partners, but then also the appetite for that in others. And so it's a wonderful dynamic in the orchestration, and what Boomi allows, the opportunity to have that conversation is fantastic. Great power behind it, and I'm looking forward to that.
Good.
Well,
any other questions
additional questions
for Charles or Brent? But then I'm going to turn it over to Andrew to tie a ribbon on this.
If not, we can resume the conversation through the chat. We got a couple more minutes here for those of you who are still on. However, I would highly suggest we move these conversations into the community. Will be the better place, the more public place, so we can continue the dialogue. If you haven't already noticed, the poll has been launched, the final poll. So please take a minute or so to fill that out. Really provides us with an opportunity to continue to make these better for you all in the future. So please take a second to fill that out. And this is a great time for some live feedback. I'd love to hear anybody's thoughts on what they thought about the event, ways that we can improve these opportunities for you all in the future. So the floor is open to anyone who has any comments they want to add. For those of you who are still here, we appreciate you sticking around to the final minute. I know we're about to be a minute over. So really want to just take the time on behalf of Boomi to thank you all for being a lively crowd, being super active, really engaging. And we are certainly excited to return to the normal, or the new normal, whatever that's going to look like in the near future. So I'll pause there, leave it open for anybody to weigh in if they have any comments. Boomi team, feedback is a gift. Bring it on. Now's the chance. Now's the chance.
I'm just going to say, from an end user, I'm looking forward to the next meeting already. You know, it's good to get the user group together. I'm just curious how active we can get on the user group on community as well. I think a lot of stuff is shared here.
Yep. So if you haven't seen it, Caitlin, before, I don't know if you're still on. I think she had to cut out, but she did post the link to the two user groups. We have a Northern California Bay Area group. I know that Rowan is eager to get some folks in there. We can use that group to plan future events. We can topic ideate so that we can really dive in to the details and have conversations around things that you're specifically interested in. This was very broad in terms of topics and conversation, but we can certainly get a lot deeper and a lot more personalized on that. So let's take advantage of it. We can use that group to help to organize those activities. There's also a SoCal group for now. We can continue to split those out. not just based on region, but also based on topic, based on industry. We do have a higher ed group for those of you who are on the call from the higher ed space. And there are other user groups to check out as well. So you can go to the user groups page and browse through what we have today, and we'll continue to add new ones in the future. But and I appreciate that feedback, and we're all looking forward to getting back to the new normal, whatever that looks like, getting back to in-person events. But any other feedback? Thank you for Max for sharing the SoCal link. Okay.
Hey, thanks everyone for joining.
Any thoughts from my team? Anybody else want to have any closing comments?
Just a big thank you for everyone for their engagement and sharing.
Yeah, awesome job, everybody. And thank you again.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Thank you again to our speakers, Brent and Charles.
Yeah.
That's an awesome job. Really look forward to sharing all this stuff on the community in the next couple of days.
Thank you, everyone, as well.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everyone.
everyone.
Stay safe.
Thank you.